Good afternoon, classmates. Today I'll be educating you guys about the concept of how loud noises result in noise-induced hearing loss. Living our daily lives, we experience and come across sounds in our environment, such as sounds from the television, radio, household appliances, music, and even traffic. These sounds are normally not dangerous, however can affect our hearing loss to an extent. So what is hearing loss? Hearing loss is a decrease in your ability to hear or understand speech and sounds around you. Hearing loss can happen when any part of the ear or the nerves that carry information on sounds to your brain do not work in a particular unusual way. In some cases, hearing loss can be temporary. However, it can be permanent when vital parts of the ear have been damaged beyond repair. Damage to any part of the ear can lead to hearing loss. So how do we hear? Before we find out how loud noises can damage our hearing, we must familiarize ourselves on how we hear. Hearing depends on a series of events that change sound waves in the air into electrical signals. Our auditory nerve then carries these signals to the brain through a complex of serious steps. So firstly, sound waves enter the outer ear and travel through a narrow passageway called the ear canal, which leads to the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates from the incoming sound waves and sends these vibrations to three tiny bones in the middle ear. These bones are called the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The bones in the middle of the ear couple the sound vibrations from the air to fluid vibrations in the cochlea of the inner ear, which is shaped like a snail and filled with fluid. An elastic partition runs from the beginning to the end of the cochlea, splitting it into an upper and lower part. This partition is called the basilar membrane because it serves as the base or ground floor on which key hearing structures sit. Once the vibrations cause the fluid inside the cochlea to ripple, a travelling sound wave forms along the basilar membrane. As the hair cells move up and down, microscopic hair-like projections known as stereocilia that perch on top of the hair cells bump against each other and allowing structure and bend. Bending causes pore-like channels which are at the tips of the stereocilia to open up. When that happens, chemicals rush into the cell creating an electrical signal. The auditory nerve carries this electrical signal to the brain, which translates it into a sound that we recognize and understand. Most hearing loss is caused through the damage and death of hair cells and unfortunately do not go back, making it permanent. So how does hearing loss occur? Noise-induced hearing loss can be caused by a one-time exposure to an intense impulse sound, such as an explosion, or by continuous exposure to loud sounds over an extended period of time, such as noise generated in a woodworking shop. Sound is measured in units called decibels. Sound of less than 75 decibels, even after long exposure, are unlikely to cause hearing loss. However, long or repeated exposure to sounds at above 85 decibels can cause hearing loss. The louder the sound, the shorter the amount of time it takes for NIHL to happen. So as you can see from this nice thermometer, it distinguishes between the highest decibel and the lowest decibel, the highest being a plain and the lowest being a whisper, being at 30 decibels. So what are the main causes of hearing loss? So firstly, damage to the inner ear. Aging and exposure to loud noise may cause wear and tear on the hairs or nerve cells in the cochlea that send sound signals to the brain. When these hairs or nerve cells are damaged or missing, electrical signals aren't transmitted as efficiently and hearing loss occurs. Higher pitch tones may become muffled to you, eventually. A gradual buildup of earwax as well. Earwax can block the ear canal and prevent conduction of sound waves. This can be restored with earwax removal. Thirdly, ear infection and abnormal bone growths or tumours. So this happens in the outer or middle ear, and any of these can cause hearing loss. And lastly, a ruptured eardrum. Loud blasts of noise, sudden changes in pressure, poking your eardrum with an object and infection can cause your eardrum to rupture and affect your hearing. So how is hearing loss specifically damaged? In terms of hair cells, the average person is born with about 16,000 hair cells within the cochlea. These cells allow your brain to detect sounds. And up to 30 to 50% of hair cells can be damaged or destroyed before changes in your hearing can be measured or tested. So as you can see from this graph here, or from this picture here, you can see that the normal cells look intact. However, after being damaged and ruptured, they look a bit spaced out, ruptured, and all over the place. So by the time you notice hearing loss, many hair cells have been destroyed and cannot be repaired. So what leading research is there and what does the future hold for ear repair? The National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders supports research on the causes, diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of hearing loss. NIDCD supported researchers have helped to identify of the many genes important for hair cell development and functions. They also use this knowledge to explore new treatments for hearing loss. So researchers are looking at the protective properties of supporting cells in the inner ear, which appear to be capable of lessening the damage to sensory hair cells upon exposure to noise. And most importantly, the NIDCD sponsors, known as the Noisy Planet or Protect Their Hearing, is a national public education campaign to increase awareness among parents of preteens and cause the prevention of NIHL, noise-induced hearing loss. And lastly, all this information is to be aimed at parents, teachers, school nurses, and other adults that can encourage children to adopt these healthy hearing habits. Thank you, and I hope you learned a lot on how to prevent and treat hearing loss. Thank you.